Hey guys, Jill here. Welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. Nathan and I told you that we had a special guest coming. And our special guest is here. Many of you guys may know Steve as Sunflower Steve. So he lives in Wisconsin. We have known each other for what, maybe the last year?
Yeah, about a little over a year.
Yeah, so he reached out to me on Instagram. He had been talking to my friend Jessica, and she was kind of telling me about your story, which we're going to sit down at the end of this video and have a chat about that. But right now, we're just kind of showing you the farm.
Show me Arkansas, all the Southern hospitality.
Yeah, getting to know his opinion. So Steve is a flower farmer, and you've been doing that for how many years?
22 years.
22 years.
Yep.
And even though you've specialized in flowers, you just have so much knowledge. And so you guys know we have issues with, you know, not being able to grow grass. And so it's really nice just having someone else look and kind of bouncing those ideas off of each other. So it's been nice kind of showing you the farm and continuing to show you the farm, but we're glad you came down.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I finally, you know, it's been so busy, and I got to see Jess last winter, and I was going to try to combine that with this trip, and I couldn't do it, so I'm so glad. Actually, the storm that kind of wiped me out a couple weeks ago gave me a little break on being able to do a little travel and see some folks. And you know, part of the lure when I saw you and Jess and I was really impressed with how strong you guys were in your faith, and you were upfront about that. And I was a total anti-social media guy. And now I've embraced it because I see the good out of it. I've met so many good people, and it's such a resource to me. Folks you'd never get to meet without social media.
That's right, absolutely.
So it's been really cool. So
yeah, some of our fondest memories and some of our greatest friendships have come from people that we've met on this platform. And you know, some people say, well, that's so scary. And it can be, but it's not like you're a stranger. Like, you know, we talk, you call Nathan, you call me, we interact. And at that point, like, if we just limited ourselves to the friendships and relationships locally, we would be limiting ourselves to a lot of really, really good people. And so sometimes the internet can be not fun, right? Like, there are bad aspects of social media, but find the good, because this has definitely been one of those friendships that we've really enjoyed.
Well, and I told you, you know, 20 years ago when I started that there was no YouTube stuff. I was going by the seat of my pants, learning all this stuff. I had tons of failures. Nobody say, hey, I did this and it failed. What do I do? There was nobody around. And I wished I would have had this platform back then, because I would have met folks like you sooner as a resource, or Jess or somebody to bounce things off of, where you just kind of, especially back then, you kind of did it in trial by fire. And if the fire was big, you couldn't go, hey, how do I put this out? You just figured it out on your own. So it's so nice to have, for all you guys aspiring to do homesteading or flower farming or anything, you're living in the golden age of knowledge. I mean, you can click on and stuff. I mean, I used to do the old encyclopedia thing back in the day. So anyway, no, I just have been pleasantly surprised by my social media friends and everything I've made.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's just going to continue to grow. So
yeah, for sure.
We meet cool people everywhere we go. You know, all these different events.
I'm sorry to let you down on that, but.
Oh, whatever.
We're good.
All right, well, let's go tour the farm for a minute.
All right, cool. I like that a lot.
Yes, like and then the kids, you know, they've got their mark on it too. All right, Nate is showing Steve our pig pasture to get some opinions on different native grasses. So he does a lot with native prairie grasses. So Steve does a lot with native prairie grasses, and so he said he might have some resourceful tips. I think we told you guys we're getting sheep, and the sheep are actually coming in like a month or so. So trying to figure out where we're going to rotate all of them is something we're actually real excited about. Check out my butternut squash area. It's looking so good. But I spent so much time in the tunnel yesterday doing all the filming. So much goodness is happening in here right now, you guys. I love it. I love it. There's like, I think everybody probably has that one place when someone comes to your farm you want to show off. For Nathan, it's the pigs. He always wants to show off the pigs. And for me, it's my high tunnel. I even moved a little chair out here. I love this space so much. I love bringing people into this space. And it's really fun because Steve's a flower grower. And if I can show him a place full of vegetable production and really kind of spark that interest of like, oh, maybe I need to go home and plant some food. Then I'm all about that.
Oh my God, that runs Prairie Nursery. Hey!
Welcome to my channel!
Welcome to your abode. Wow, look at the tomatoes.
Isn't that crazy?
How do you get up there? You're so short. I can't.
Well, we just moved the ladder out yesterday.
Because I can't hardly reach them.
Yeah, and like professional vegetable growers, they have stilts in their tunnels.
Okay.
Because look at the cucumbers too. The cucumbers are to the top. And so usually
I've never seen cucumbers crawl.
Oh, I know. So usually I just climb in the bed to harvest them.
That is awesome.
Right?
I'm stunned at how cool it is in here.
So we have the shade cloth. It's 30% shade cloth. It makes it about 10 to 15 degrees cooler.
That's amazing.
We'll take it off in around like October.
Okay.
But you were talking about earlier about your shrubs or your holly bushes needing a male and a female.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about these, essentially, it only produces female flowers.
Okay.
And the female flowers produce enough hormone to self-pollinate that you don't need anything. So these like need no pollination to produce fruit.
Okay.
Which is really cool, and they thrive. I mean, check them out.
No, this is cool. I've never seen them trellis before.
Yeah, and
I'm a flower guy. I'm with my newfound freedom. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, I want to start growing more. After visiting Jess's place and now here, I'd love to grow more of my own fruit. And this, I'm like this.
Doesn't have flowers on it.
I know, but I mean, but then I'd have to lean over. I'm 6'3", to lean over and pick those things and just do like this.
So this we do an umbrella trellis, so it'll climb to the very top of that conduit.
Okay.
We throw it over, and then it just umbrellas down.
Oh,
and then
really?
they'll end up just coming back down, and we're harvesting it.
That is awesome.
Now we do have eucalyptus in here, so we're like flowering in here a little.
No, see, even I can see something like this for up at our camp would be really cool to teach the kids.
Yeah, such a great teaching opportunity. Yeah, so we've got our cucumbers, which this is where our first round was. And when we ripped those out, those were already started in the greenhouse and we transplanted. And then our peppers, we're pruning our peppers to a single leader, and you can see that one back there. I mean, it'll climb to the very top too. And then we do like these are bushy peppers, and it's more of like a corral method with like some string and some rebar.
See, I may be able to do something like this because last year I used a friend of ours' greenhouses for them to dry down my sunflower heads.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to harvest them before the birds and everything got them when they're still kind of greenish yellow. And I found a really good deal on a greenhouse. It's 32 by 16 by 96 feet long, and I bought it and just haven't had a chance to put it up.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I could dry sunflower seed heads in it and grow food at the same time.
Oh yeah, there's so much. So like there's ginger over there, and so these beds on the sides were actually where we overwintered flowers. So the middle beds were for vegetable production, the outside beds. So over here we had snapdragons and orlea, and then over here we had carnations, dara, ami, nigella.
Okay.
And we'll probably do the same thing again, overwintered flowers, and then really just max out these 4 smaller beds with vegetables. But that was really all we needed too. We like grew so much food.
It's amazing.
It's insane
how intense and compact you can grow stuff and get a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even flower farming, people always, I tell them I plant 400,000 sunflowers a year. Like, well, how many acres is that? 4.5 to 5.
Yeah. Isn't wild?
And then I've got another 750,000 in seed production. So I mean, all told, I probably only have 8 or 9 acres in production. But they're thinking corn and beans.
Oh yeah.
40, 50 acres. But.
Yeah. You can max out a small space if you do it efficiently.
And that's ginger?
That's ginger, yeah.
Okay.
Or elderberry syrup.
Okay.
So you met Sean earlier.
Yeah.
His wife makes elderberry syrup.
Okay.
And so we can pull it back here and you can see.
Oh, sure.
And so when you start to see it like that, you just go and you hill it up. And so this will end up getting like super, super tall. And then we'll harvest it in the fall. And then we're selling elderberry on our website.
Elderberry syrup?
Elderberry syrup, And so this works out really well, and then we'll just follow it up with a winter crop.
What is your, like, when you buy a root crop, actually, a tuber, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, these are rhizomes.
What do you think your return is? Like, one of these will return?
Yeah, so one rhizome will produce massive clusters. So the return on investment is ridiculous because this is so hands-off. I'm going through maybe once every couple weeks as I'm seeing the ginger pop up and I'm healing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, last year we did this in that bed over there, half the bed, and we yielded 93 pounds of ginger.
And can you take part of that to use for next year?
Yes.
Break those fingers off?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was wondering. If so once you have it in there, you can keep recouping part of your investment and put it back in there. That's outstanding.
But for someone who doesn't, you can also go to the grocery store and buy organic ginger, and it's going to be just
the same thing?
Yep, same thing.
You know what? Now I'm mad I didn't bring you guys maple syrup.
Oh, maple syrup from Wisconsin.
My daughter tapped some of our trees up north last year and made syrup for the first time, and it's really good.
He did bring us some cream tunny though, and he has sent me cream tunny before, and it's fantastic on some homemade bagels.
Is that who that cream tunny?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I send you the cinnamon stuff too?
Yes, yeah, you did. It was so good. I love though that Steve said that this kind of gets his juices flowing in the sense. Anytime someone comes to my farm, like I mentioned, Nate loves showing off the pigs. I love showing off the high tunnel because I want it to spark interest, right? In somebody that, hey, this is attainable. And not only is it attainable, but like you can do it. It's pretty efficient. It's very doable. And it's like, hey, he sees all the things I have to do in a day. He knows all the things I have to do in a day, but he still comes out here and there's that relatability of like, oh, yeah, I can make this manageable and scalable for my family. And hopefully that's something that all of you guys can take from our videos and apply to. All right, y'all want to go inside and sit down and have a chat?
Yeah. We all do.
Okay.
I told you I was going to be saying y'all.
It didn't take long, did it? What do you say where you're from? You all or you guys?
Hey guys.
You guys. Yeah.
I get that too. Like I've done that on my Instagram. Hey guys, and people are like, well, you know, there's girls watching too. I'm like, okay, I have 4 girls and I call them guys.
Yeah. Or you could just say y'all, and it's for everybody.
I did that last year, and when I was doing my Winterberry, somebody said you're channeling your inner Jess and Jill.
Yes.
Hey.
All right, so Nathan is making lunch. So Steve and I are back inside, and we're gonna have a little chit chat. Because I really just want you guys to get to know him better. I do think that this is one of the many valuable reasons why we do what we do, is we talked about this kind of earlier, is the relationships and the friendships you get to meet, and also just highlighting people. I am where I am today because someone was my friend and they found value in what I did and they shared it with somebody. And then that person shared it with somebody. And then this whole trickle effect continued to happen. And so we really feel passionate about that because I'm not the only farmer, homesteader, YouTuber that's out there. It takes all of us doing all these really cool things in different ways. Some of us are even doing the same things, but we're doing them in different ways. Yep. And so I just think it's so important to highlight other people because what you're doing is really stinking cool. So I kind of just want you to tell them who you are, a little bit about what you're doing, and then we can kind of pivot how we need to and dive more into your story and what really you want to share with them.
Sure. So, I've been on a flower farm for 22 years, and I stumbled into it. And like I said, I wish the internet would have been around back then, but I stumbled into it, and just through the grace of God, I had a buyer at this one big place in the Twin Cities that kind of didn't take pity on me, but gave me a shot. Yeah. I knew nothing. I have a mass communications and sales background, and knew nothing about growing flowers. And if it wasn't for her, being my champion for 7 years, growing locally grown cut flowers, I would have never stumbled into the flower I'm selling now. Yeah. My Van Gogh's Fantasy is what it's called, and I've been working on it for, this will be the 15th year now, and it's been, to me, I look back, if I wouldn't have met her, if I wouldn't have got my hair cut that day at a place where this gal's sister was selling flowers to this place, I would have never learned about this woman and to be a buyer, and then stumble into growing cut flowers, and then growing this new flower I've been breeding for the last 15 years to eventually bring to the masses. Yeah. And I think I mentioned earlier that without the internet and without the connections I made there, I never would have met you guys, or Jess, or Aaron from Floret, or Jill, or not Jill, Nicole from Flower Hill Farm. And for me, it's just been an epiphany of there's this whole wealth of a knowledge base out there in the internet that you can tap into. Yeah. And so for me, it would have been great to have it back then, but because of that, I've now found, I'm talking to people, and like you said earlier, I've got all this knowledge, and Jess kept saying that last, you know so much. Yeah, you do. And I'm like, I'm old school, I still write stuff on a pad of paper and hand them a bill. But I now found that maybe my future is, helping educate more people. Yeah. And even yesterday, I stopped at a flower farm in Iowa on the way down here, and I saw how they did things, and it was like, wow. Yeah. Sometimes you get your head down, nose to the grindstone, doing things your way, and then you'll see how somebody else does something, you're like, I wish I'd have known that 10 years ago. Yeah, because then it's a better way to teach other people too. Right. And I do think what you're doing is so specific. Like the sunflowers he's breeding is insane, and I kind of
dabbled in this idea of like, oh, long term, it would be really cool to breed a flower. And then when I started researching what was involved and how long it took to do that, I was like, I am in no way at a place, or would probably even be in a place within the next 10 years to even know enough about what I'm doing to try to start. And that's something else I want to talk about too, is like you said, you've been breeding this flower for how long?
This was the 14th growing season, but 15th year since I found the first one.
15 years, you guys. If that is not proof of dedication, how long, and this is a challenge to me too, you have to be really passionate about something to devote 15 years of your life to perfect it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. And I did. I appreciate the accolades, but if I had done the same thing 15 years ago and said, this is where I'm going to be, I don't think I would have done it as efficiently as I did, because I had my whole cut flower business. This was on the side, and it was cool, and it was something to divert my attention away from the grind of what I was doing. And I felt like I just kept being nudged by God to say, you know, keep trying this, keep trying this. And then I was like, well, hey, nobody else has this. That's something on my competition in where I was selling flowers to. So at first it was something I could beat my competition with. So that was part of my fire to do it. Then I started seeing how cool it was and all the different ones I was getting, and I keep relating it back to, and I'll send you a picture of the first one, but all these different flowers, shapes, colors, sizes came from one flower. That mysteriously, I know why now, but that showed up at my property 15 years ago. And if I had taken the attitude of, I'm going to breed this flower for the next 15 years and probably sell the seed, I don't think I would think I would have probably given up. But since I was doing all this other thing that was fulfilling my financial obligations and my desire just to sell flowers to, I always say, you know, some flowers just make you smile. They do. They do. And I actually got that from a friend of mine whose wife was going through chemotherapy at the time. I dropped off flowers every week for her, and after the first time I dropped them off, he calls me up, dude, you need to bring me flowers every week while she's going through chemo. And I was like, why is that? And he says, some flowers make her smile. That's where I got that from. So that's when I kind of knew that I was going to keep going with the cut flowers that way. And at the same time, I kept getting nudged towards doing this double flower. And I was told by several people, it won't work, you know, the seeds won't be there. And being ignorant and just saying whatever and doing it was, I probably would have given up based on those people saying it won't work. And my own failures there, because if that's what I was relying on, I probably would have given up. But the fact I had something else going.
For sure. But it is cool too, though, because you do have this passion, and you could have been doing it for one reason, but I think God knows your heart, and there's such a bigger story and vision behind Steve and like what they're doing, that it is kind of cool that something that was to meet a need in a way, God is now using that in such a different way to fund such a different, or a dream that he's put on your heart. So it is cool to see. I know a lot of times when we think about dreaming and what we want to do, or even just the day-to-day grind of what we have to do, we're like, oh, okay, where is the bigger picture here? Like, I know I ask God all the time, like, I need to see it from a wider lens here. And knowing that like 15 years ago, God put that in you for a reason that is now in a totally different area for an opportunity that he brought up with your camp. And so I just think even hearing parts of your story and seeing kind of all the things behind the scenes that were taking place is just really special and really cool.
In a nutshell, my wife and I and our whole family actually purchased a Christian youth summer camp back in 2019 on a huge leap of faith. There's a huge story about there. I went kicking and screaming. I was not in on this at all. I did not see it as my passion, my vision. My family did. And then I did have this epiphany in early 2019 it was, that we should do this. And we took a leap of faith and we bought this camp and we ran it that year and everything was great, and I was like, this was the right thing to do. Well, then 2020 hits and the world turns upside
world shuts down.
And you have a camp and no campers. And you have no way to fund it. And the first year we kind of just struggled through and doing stuff, and then it kind of hit me on, you know, maybe this is the reason. This could help financially. This could help us with our own life as well as help us with camp. And so we did the legacy fundraiser last year.
So you did an in-depth podcast with Jess at Roots Refuge. Okay. So I will link that for you guys to kind of know a story, because I know kind of the vision that you're moving towards is there will be other opportunities for stuff like this in the future. And I think it's incredible. Like, I have your seeds. We actually went and visited a farm today where I sell to, and she had bought and grown your seeds, and it's just really cool knowing that like you're in Wisconsin and your seeds are literally around the world.
I got some the other day from Slovenia.
Whoa.
And like, great job growing them, but I can't sell out of the country, so I don't know how you got them there. I'm not asking, but good job. So so that's going to be a little bit of a thing to navigate, is how to. I would love to have them growing all over the world.
Right. Yeah.
And I've told people, selfishly, I had them for a while, and it was my thing, my competition. Yeah. Nobody else had it. But now that I see them in backyards, I'm so used to seeing them. I see them in backyards, and people getting joy out of growing, 25, 30 of them. Yeah. It's been cool. It's been really fulfilling. It's been really, really, really awesome. Neat. And again, back to 15 years ago when I found this flower, I had no idea how I was going to pack the rest of our life with our camp and things. And now I see how they're more intertwined than I ever thought. And I'm thinking of more and more ways I can use, like Jess said in that podcast, leverage. You don't maybe have a big thing, but you have something you can leverage to help you out. Yeah. And we did that last year, and the future looks bright. Yeah. It looks really bright. Got a lot of things that are going on that from I'm turning the page, changing a chapter from my cut flower growing at 22 years. Doing a little pivot. Yeah. Sorry to be vague, but I haven't released exactly what I'm doing yet. But I think the future looks really good for both my personal life as far as growing as a flower farm, as well as our camps. Yeah, that's awesome. So where can our audience follow you and stay connected? And also, he does these ridiculous flower murals. Flower murals. I don't know how often you put them out, but it's a highlight for Nathan and I. We always send it to each other on Instagram. Did you see Steve's mural? I'm like, yes, I did. It's so cool. So where can they find you guys at? You can do my Instagram. Okay, so I'll put that right here, and I'll also leave it in the description down below. And our camp is www.crosswoods.camp. Okay. And my daughter keeps reminding me of this, that there were several people from other countries when we did our kind of fundraiser seed sale that wanted to just donate money to our camp, and I never got back to it. There's a place on the website now you can click. It says fund a camp or support our camp or something. You click on, and there's a Venmo there now. Okay, it wasn't at the time of the sale, but I had a lot of people saying, hey, I would just like to give and fund your camp, and we didn't have the time. So, and if you feel it's in your heart to do, otherwise I'll be having another seed sale, and every little penny helps there too. Yeah. So. All right, so I'm so glad that I could introduce you to my friend Steve. He really is doing so many awesome things. Make sure that you're following him on Instagram, signed up for his newsletter to see when he's going to do his other seed releases, and then we are going to be going live probably in a few weeks and talking more in depth on seed saving, flower business, running business, just really nothing's off limits as far as that. So you'll see a lot of us kind of collaborating and just educational things in the future. But thanks for coming visiting my farm. It was a blessing, the storm I had, because it gave me the window finally to go visit people that wanted to come and see. And come and see you, Nathan, and Southern Hospitality. I didn't know Arkansas was this beautiful. You know, it's been a great experience, and thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you for hosting a total stranger from Wisconsin. You guys, it turned out okay. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah, have a blessed day.